Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Beth, and for today's video I am going to be doing a full face of Tower 28. So I'm going to be going through all of their products. I have one shade of at least everything I think they make, and I'm going to be applying them obviously and kind of giving you my thoughts. A couple products are first impressions. I have their new Sculptino, which I have not tried. I also have a sample of their highlighter, which is kind of like a balm-like product. I just have a sample, so I didn't want to open it before actually using it on camera. But everything else I have tried multiple times, and I definitely do have some thoughts and some favorites. So I did want to address what I think the thumbnail of this video will be, because there's been some recent internet drama surrounding Hailey Bieber. So I originally thought of doing this video back in like September, October of last year, because October is, I think, Eczema Awareness Month, and Tower 28 is a very eczema friendly brand. They have a lot of their products, for example, have the National Eczema Association seal of acceptance. And I think in general, all of their products are meant to be very kind of sensitive skin friendly. So if you do have sensitive skin or suffer from eczema, this is a great brand to try out. So I do have eczema. I had a patch on my eyelid that I think is mostly kind of healed at this point, but my hands especially have kind of been through the ringer. Like I have a spot here that's pretty healed, and I haven't been wearing my wedding ring because I have a little patch there as well. So anyway, I do understand what it is like to have eczema, and in general, I just have very dry skin. So I wouldn't say my skin is the most sensitive, but I do definitely, I guess, look for products that don't contain certain ingredients. And as the months passed and I kind of missed out on the window for doing the Eczema Awareness Month during October, instead of focusing on two kind of eczema focused brands, which are Skin Fix and Tower 28, Tower 28 has some skincare products, but I think the bulk of their products are cosmetics. Skin Fix is, I think, exclusively a skincare brand, which is a great brand, by the way. I have their hand repair cream that's almost gone. But anyway, yeah, so as I kind of shifted gears and as Tower 28 released a few more products, I thought it made sense just to focus on Tower 28 in this video. And I think Tower 28 did publicize that Hailey Bieber was a fan of a few of their products, or has featured some of their products on her social media pages. So I thought, in addition to focusing on the Tower 28 products, they don't make kind of the full range of products that I like to use. So to fill in the products that they don't make, I just kind of researched other products that Hailey Bieber uses or likes or whatever. So that's kind of the secondary angle, I guess, to this video, is just using products that Hailey Bieber likes. And as you may be aware, it's hard to escape, there's an alleged feud currently between Hailey Bieber and Selena Gomez, which I think is just kind of silly. I mean, in a way, it kind of helps me out because of search engine optimization and all that, but I just wanted to say that, I don't know, I recognize Hailey Bieber as being a huge influencer and trendsetter, I guess. And I love Selena Gomez. My husband and I have watched all the seasons of Only Murders in the Building that have been out. We love the Selena and Chef show that she did on HBO Max. If I had all of the products to do a full face of Rare Beauty, I would do that at some point, absolutely. So I just wanted to put that out there, saying like I'm not Team Hailey or anything by doing this video. It's just kind of how things have transpired. And I think in general, this feud seems to be largely fabricated by people who have too much time on their hands. And especially during Women's History Month, like, let's not pit women against each other. That's just not a good look. But I do think that I think the easiest way to kind of put this to bed would just be for Hailey Bieber to do looks on her social media accounts with Rare Beauty products. I think that would go a long way. But anyway, let's get started with the actual products. So, as I alluded to, I think this is one of the products that Hailey Bieber has spoken about and really enjoyed. This is the Tower 28 Daily Rescue Facial Spray. I have it in the older packaging. It has since become like this color plastic. And I've gotten down to almost the end of this. I guess this is a product, when I thought about doing this video, I started using this more, and Maybe I just need to be more religious about it. But anyway, this is a product I guess I'm kind of ambivalent about. I guess I just haven't necessarily seen super amazing results from it to be able to say it does anything remarkable, but maybe I need to perhaps spray it on my hands or something to see if that helps. But anyway, this is the 4 fluid ounce size. This retails for $28. They also do have a smaller 1 ounce size for $12. They say that this is a simple but effective pH balancing hypochlorous acid toner that helps minimize visible skin irritation and redness and keeps flare-ups at bay. Hypochlorous acid is naturally produced by the body's immune system as a first line of defense to fight the appearance of redness. It soothes, nourishes, and cares for sensitive or stressed skin, leaving it looking clear, soft, and healthy. So this also has water and sodium chloride or salt. It says this non-drying solution is formulated to mimic the makeup of our bodies. It's the optimal delivery solution for hypochlorous acid since it's found naturally in white blood cells. Yeah, it says it supports the skin barrier, and this product also has the National Eczema Association Seal of Acceptance, which is that little blue thing. I was going to say you can take it with a grain of salt, I guess my opinion of it, which is ironic because it has salt. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to kind of cover their skincare products. I've already done my skincare, by the way, and I'd say my skin it feels comfortable and hydrated. It doesn't feel overly dewy. So I just wanted to kind of let you know where my skin is at the moment. And it looks pretty good, I think, all things considered. I mean, I went out earlier and I applied the Glossier Stretch Concealer to a few spots, but generally I think my skin is pretty happy at the moment. So they also came out with more recently this Intensive Rescue Serum. This is 2 fluid ounce, which is a pretty good amount for a serum. Usually I think serums are about 1 ounce. It's $34, so also not too bad price-wise. And I think Tower 28, I think prior to and of course everything's getting more expensive these days, but I want to say at one point they were trying to make everything under $20. But I think when their like Tower 28 foundation type product came out, that was a little bit over. So I think certain products just tend to be more expensive. But they say that this is a lightweight pH balancing serum to help visibly reduce redness and irritation for softer, clearer looking and happier skin. So this says it's powered by a concentrated dose of stable hypochlorous acid, so the same kind of ingredient as the toner spray, a heroic anti-inflammatory and antibacterial intensive skin saving serum is on a mission to help soothe and purify chronically sensitive skin, blemishes, rosacea, eczema, etc. So I also do get some rosacea, and I've been using a lot of azelaic acid products, and I've used this more, I guess, the last few days. I don't know. It's one of those products, again, that I like it. I'm just not positive once I use it up that I would repurchase, if that makes sense. And it's also supposed to strengthen the skin barrier, which is something I look for. And eczema is generally, I think, when you have a compromised skin barrier. The innovative pump whips the formula from liquid to gel, so you can kind of see, hopefully, or at least hear it. So it does sound very fluid in there. It whips the formula from liquid to gel in real time for the most effective delivery. It's fragrance free, but smells like science. Derm approved and has the National Eczema Association Seal of Acceptance. So yeah, that was one thing that kind of surprised me about this product. So I just want to show you. Can you see that? It does come out as kind of like a gel-like texture. Once you kind of rub it in, it does become very like thin and watery. So yeah, it's interesting. And like I said, I do use azelaic acid, but there are definitely days when I just want something that's going to be more soothing or moisturizing. So yeah, I don't regret purchasing it. It's just, again, one of those, like, I guess this is doing something. I have also been using my Dr. Dennis Gross LED light mask a lot more recently, and I think there's some indication that red light does also help with eczema, or I think any kind of inflammation or irritation, so you can take that for what it's worth. So as I said, my skin is recently moisturized. Usually if I'm applying a foundation, I will go in with some kind of moisturizing primer type step, but given the nature of the products I'm going to be using later on, I don't want to end up with too dewy a situation. And the Tower 28 foundation product is a sunscreen as well. But generally, the way I use that product is when I'm just going to be going out running errands. I just want something kind of very lightweight to kind of even things out, maybe provide a little bit more coverage, a little bit more kind of SPF, but Usually I go in with a sunscreen underneath to make sure I get the full sun protection. Obviously I'm very fair, have freckles, all that. So that's just something you want to be aware of to make sure that you are getting the sun protection you need, is that you need to use a decent amount to get that full protection. So Tower 28 is interesting. I'm just going to go in with this new Tarte Shape Tape Corrector in pink. This is a new product from Tarte that I haven't tried before, so I thought I would just go ahead and use it today because I would most likely use some kind of corrector. I did also purchase the peach shade that Tarte came out with, and I plan to... pretty good, I think. And I plan to do a video comparing it to the e.l.f. correctors. So the Tower 28 foundation is on the lighter side, but generally I like to have a corrector anyway. I think that's actually pretty good. All right, so I'm gonna go in with this product. I was thinking of maybe doing some spot correcting with the e.l.f. green color corrector, but I want you to be able to see kind of the coverage level of this. Even when I use this product, I'll usually use some kind of concealer under the eyes anyway. So this is the Sunny Days SPF 30 Tinted Sunscreen Foundation. It retails for $32, I believe now, for 1 ounce. It comes in 14 shades. I have the shade Fairfax, which is the lightest shade. It's fair with pink undertones is how they describe it. They say it's a 2-in-1 fragrance-free mineral sunscreen foundation with SPF 30, light, medium, buildable coverage, and a natural finish that's safe for sensitive or problem skin. And then they say light coverage, natural finish, non-nano zinc oxide is the SPF. I always use mineral sunscreens. I don't like to use chemical sunscreens if I can help it. It also has prickly pear extract and white sage extract. And they say that this evens redness, protects from sun damage and blue light, and suits UV stressed skin while maintaining a natural finish so your real skin, freckles included, can have its moment in the sun. Fragrance-free, alcohol-free, non-greasy, non-white cast, and non-oxidizing for every sunny day. It is also the first and only complexion makeup product with the National Eczema Association's seal of acceptance. So that's where that is. Okay, so this is definitely a product I like to just use, I think, with my fingertips, and that is kind of the consistency there. I'd say that's a slow kind of drip down the hand. It's not super runny. It has a little bit of kind of substance to it. All right, so I'm just gonna kind of dot this on. I'll probably need a little bit more. Yeah, and then usually I'll just kind of blend it with my fingers. And I like that they do have expiration dates on this product. That one is good through August of this year, so I should try to use it up. And when I have worn this all day, so yeah, so you can see kind of on those blemishes, like it's not gonna provide, they say it's buildable, but if you do have any, oh, I'm getting at my earring. If you do have anything that you really kind of want to cover, any blemishes or anything like that, you'll probably want to use a concealer on top. So obviously it's looking a little bit dewy at the moment, but I think you can see it does take down some of the redness. You can still see freckles, but they're maybe a little less pronounced. So yeah, I like this product. I think it's kind of a nice thing to have on hand. I think it's good to have different kind of coverage options, complexion type products. And like I said, when I have worn this all day, I think it wears pretty gracefully. So, you know, where it starts to rub off or whatever, it doesn't look super obvious. So if you're wearing this during the summer or whatever, try and get a little bit more coverage right there. So yeah, this is a product where I feel like you can blend it in with your fingers, but if you were so inclined, you know, using a sponge or a brush I think would also work. As you can tell, it's not like the thinnest kind of foundation product. If I'm just using it, like I said, like on a kind of no makeup day, probably would use a little bit less, but okay. Yeah, and it's looking, I don't think it's oxidized since I got it, but I feel like it's even a little bit dark for me. I'm having flashbacks to that Tarte video I did. This chest hasn't really seen any sun in the last 5 months. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop on one of their lip oils. Usually I like to apply lip oil while I'm getting ready, and I'll tell you a little bit about this in a moment. So this is the shade Sesame, and I like the color, and I really like how it feels on the lips. I guess my reservation with this product, although I do like it, is that, especially with a more pigmented color, so it has just like a flat doe foot. Things that are this kind of glossy tend to kind of move around or want to move around. I also have the shade Coconut and the shade Cashew. Sesame might be my favorite out of these three. Yeah, so really cute, cheerful packaging. But I feel like sometimes it's just a little bit difficult, especially if you're trying to apply it without a mirror, to get kind of enough and spread it out to the corners of your lips without feeling like it's kind of going over the rest of your face. So that's kind of my reservation with it. And I do like that they don't have any kind of fragrance or taste. So these are the Shine On Lip Jellies Non-Sticky Gloss. They're only $16, which is nice, 12 shades. So they say that this product has the shine of a gloss, the comfort of a balm, and a touch of juicy translucent color. It uses a unique blend of 5 nurturing oils to soothe and protect lips from drying and peeling. So that is the gloss. So for brows, I think Hailey Bieber has used the Milk Cush Fiber Brow Gel. I think there's also a lot of Milk products that she likes. So I've had this in my kind of backup stash. This is in the shade Haze. So I thought I would go ahead and try this out. It has the kind of Benefit Gimme Brow, Glossier Boy Brow type applicator, which I like. I feel like getting a good tone for blonde brows is always a bit tricky. Yeah, not totally in love with that color. It's not the type that is going to give a lot of hold, I don't think. So I think I'll go ahead and go in with the ABH Clear Brow Gel, which I think is another product that Hailey Bieber uses. And I think I first discovered this product like almost 10 years ago. And it's still a product I reach for to give my brows a good amount of hold, especially if I just want them to kind of look groomed. Like my brows are not, I guess, super dense, but the hairs are definitely kind of on the longer side. Yeah, not totally in love, but we'll just leave it there. Okay, so that was it for brows. Let's talk about some concealer. So I think she uses the Kosas Concealer, and unfortunately Kosas doesn't make like an ideal shade for me. I guess I'll go ahead and go in with 0.5N. I also have this 1.5C. So that's the difference there. I might use 1.5C on my complexion. But yeah, I definitely need something a little bit pinker, I think. And unfortunately, all of Kosas's foundation or complexion products tend to lean a bit yellow. Same type of applicator as the Tower 28 gloss or oil. Talking about, like, I guess products going viral on TikTok or drama. I do like the texture of the product, but again, just not my ideal. All right, let's go in with that other shade. All right, so I'm gonna leave it there with the concealing. And the next product I wanna talk about from Tower 28 are their multi-liners. So I think these came out towards the end of last year. They were, I think, just on the Tower 28 website for a while, but then I think sometime this year they went to Sephora. So these are interesting. So they're called multi-liners, so the idea is that you can use them in a variety of different ways. I have 2 out of the 3 shades here. I have the Draw Me shade, the brown one, which I think is what Hailey Bieber used in like a makeup look for her birthday. So this kind of 90s liner is becoming more popular. And then I also have the shade Work of Art, which is more of that mauve tone. They do have one that is pinker. So Draw Me, they call it a chocolate brown. Work of Art is a pinky taupe. And then they have Fill Me In, which is a rosy nude. And these each retail for $15. So it says lip liner plus eyeliner plus cheek pencil. So the way I've played around with using these, so I've tried kind of putting them all over the lid as kind of a base and blending it out. And that's the thing I really wanted to emphasize with these, is that they are very creamy, very blendable. So I'm just going to remove some of that excess kind of lip gloss, lip oil. So one way you can obviously use these is as a lip pencil. So I'm going to use the shade Work of Art. Yeah, I think the lighter pink would maybe be a little bit better for me, but just so you can see the color. I am curious, by the way. Yeah, they're about the same as like the Victoria Beckham pencils, I guess, because they don't have any of the, you know, attachments or whatever. They just seem a little bit smaller. But anyway, going back to this brown. So we'll talk about the Sculptino in a bit, but from what I've seen, and again, the Sculptino will be a first impression. This, if you're looking for an easy contour, especially from Tower 28, I think this pencil is going to be a better bet for you. So what I've played around with is just kind of using this as a contour. You know, and the benefit to having a pencil like this, I know that looks crazy. I'm using my BK101. So it's not perhaps as easy to blend as some other cream contour, but you can make it work. And I think if my neck were a little bit kind of better moisturized, it would blend out a little bit better. Okay, so that's one thing you can try. And because, you know, I do have that sunscreen on my face, which is more emollient, I think it works a little bit better on the cheek. And then especially, I think for the tip of the nose, this is really great if you like to contour there. I will also use that as an eyeliner. The one thing about using it as an eyeliner is if you go back to using it as like a contour, you just want to make sure you don't have any kind of like glitter eyeshadow or anything on it. So yeah, hopefully that gave you some idea, and I'll just go ahead and put on some of this on the cheek as well. Yeah, so I tried using these on the lids, but I just found that they kind of disappeared on me. So I'm gonna do more of a kind of traditional eyeshadow look, but use those as eyeliner. And as eyeliner, they did last pretty well, like over a powder shadow. And I even did like a little baby wing, and they lasted all day. They weren't as intense. So those have been on my hand for a second now. And you can see, like they do kind of set. Like I didn't have any issues with it as eyeliner, but definitely not as kind of steadfast as some other products. Okay, so let's talk about these types of products. So I think the first thing maybe they came out with, or one of the first anyway, were their Beach Please cream blushes. So I have two shades. I have Magic Hour and Office Hours. So I will use these kind of on top so you can see what those look like. And then I also have the previous bronzer they had released, which is the Bronzino, and I have it in the shade Suncoast, so we'll talk about that. And then of course the newest addition to their line, the Sculptino, which is a matte instead of the shimmer. And this is in the shade, I think it's Broad. As State of Kate pointed out, I think these shades, there's about 4 of them, I think are all named after museums in LA. So apparently there is a museum called the Broad. So let's go with this. So this Sculptino, which is new, retails for $20, comes in 4 shades. And this is described as fair light with neutral undertones. And I'm just kind of curious. I'm gonna take my Real Techniques Expert Face Brush, and I just wanna see kind of how it picks up on a brush. So not bad, assuming you didn't want to use your fingers. The warmth of your fingers kind of helps a product warm up. So yeah, so I think one of the criticisms with this launch has been that they call it like a bronzer and contour. And because I've seen swatches, like I kind of, I guess, knew what I was in for. This is a really good brush for this actually. Kind of fits in nicely, and it's also slightly oval. Yeah, and that's why like I still played around with using the pencil as a actual contour shade, because you want something that's not going to be warm, ideally. All right, so that's the bronzer. Still interested in trying. Okay, so you can see kind of how emollient it is if I warm it up. And just for fun, let's see what happens. I think this is another way I've kind of seen people use it. I guess you could blend it out with a sponge if you wanted to. Yeah, so I'm still interested in picking up the new shade of the Say. I think that bronzer shade is still a little bit too warm for me. So anyway, so that's the Sculptino. That was kind of a try it for science. And just to show you the swatch of this compared to some other kind of cream contours. So this is the Mario Skin Enhancer in Light, which is a much more like silicone feeling formula. So that's the Mario. If you're my skin tone, honestly, I would recommend the Mario. Speaking of Selena, this is her bronzer stick in Happy Soul. And I didn't go with the lightest shade of the Rare Beauty. I actually went up one to get a little bit of a cooler tone, because I mean, a lot of brands do this where the lightest shade of their bronzer, it just ends up looking so yellow. And I think what Bobbi Brown for Jones Road has done that's really smart is to come out with something that's pinker. So that is Biscuit from Westman Atelier. See, it's definitely more brown, less of that kind of yellow tone of the Tower 28. And another one I usually reach for because it's a really good cool tone example is the Fenty Matchstick in Amber. So not quite as emollient. I think Tower 28 said they made it so it wouldn't look like dirt on your face or whatever, but I think sometimes people just need to understand what contour is and what it does and kind of how to apply it. The whole idea of bronzer and why you put it at the tops of your cheeks is it's a way of sculpting, in that anytime you add blush or whatever, it does kind of help bring your cheekbones forward. So it's kind of the opposite effect of contouring, where you're trying to make things look like they're receding. So you can kind of operate on one or both fronts if you like, but anyway, you just need to understand what you're doing. So this is the cream blush shade in Office Hours. Oh, they feel about the same actually. I was gonna say the blushes feel maybe a tad stickier, but I don't know if that's true. All right, so go ahead and swatch the two shades that I have. So that was Magic Hour, and that's just the bronzer for good measure. I think I still like Office Hours the best. That was part of their shade expansion, and it came out the same time as the Sesame lip gloss, I think. So, all right, so with these, usually what I just do is I'll dot them on with my finger and just tap to blend. So I think if you wanted to, you could use a brush, same Real Techniques brush, or a sponge, but I find that, I don't know, with my fingers I tend to, you can see it really built up super fast there. It tends to be a lighter touch. Like that is a little bit too much blush. And if that does happen, what I will do sometimes, just take a little bit more foundation and just kind of blend. Yeah, so you can see that kind of takes it back to like normal territory. And if I really wanted to kind of carve out my jaw, kind of highlight a bit down here. Yeah, so all of, I think the products in this type of component are all $20. The Sculptino has 4 shades, like I said. The blushes have 7 shades, and Magic Hour, this is a Sun-Kissed Rosy Nude. And this one is a sun-kissed mauve. I think they're all described as being sun-kissed. And this one I think comes in 5 shades. I have the shade Suncoast, which is a light bronze. This was a 2020 Allure Best of Beauty Award winner, and for the life of me, I can't really understand why. They've had quite a few products that were Allure Best of Beauty winners. Like the cream blushes were 2021 Best of Beauty winners, so maybe the cream blushes came out later. I'll just show you. So it has like shimmer to it, obviously, but it doesn't really seem to have a lot of pigment. And I'll swatch it next to the Sculptino. So those are the two bronzers together. I even try to use this, I think, as an eyeshadow. And again, I think a lot of products, especially cream products, tend to crease on me, but I think, you know, it adds some nice sheen if that's what you're going for, but I don't know that it really does much considering how kind of dewy I already am. And that's the thing about this kind of makeup too, is that I think I could use some powder right now, but everything blended together does look pretty natural. So there was one day where I went out and I had something on my eyelids so they didn't look quite as bare as they do now. And I think I forgot to put on mascara, which doesn't usually happen, but yeah, I think it just goes to how everything just kind of melts into the skin. All right, so this is the highlighter that I have. And this only comes in 1 shade, and I think this might be $18. It says it's shimmer free, so this is more of that no makeup kind of like that, like RMS Luminizer, I think it was called. So it's 1 shade. It's a clear highlight balm with no shimmer or glitter for that no makeup glossy luminous skin effect. So I just again have this little sample, and I don't even know if this is really gonna show up, considering, again, how dewy I am. I think I'll powder and then see how it does on top of that. Speaking of powder, I'm gonna go in with the Kosas Cloud Set in the shade Airy. And this product was another one that I think Hailey Bieber has talked about, and I'm using a BK 103. So this is a very kind of light powder. It still leaves a lot of that shine. I mean, I was just remembering Jada Kate's video recently where she was talking about unpopular makeup opinions and how like the super dewy look is kind of overrated. I think that's getting us to an acceptable level. I always find it interesting, the whole like, are you going for a more matte or dewy look in the summer versus the winter? Like in the winter, I'm trying so hard to put hydration into my skin. I'm just gonna put a little bit of the Charlotte Tilbury so you can kind of see, I guess, how a more mattifying powder would do. I'm trying so hard to put moisture into my skin, so I don't want to make it intentionally matte. I don't know if it's just kind of people leaning into what their skin is doing normally. Like in the summer, you tend to be a little bit more oily, but anyway, so that is the powdered face. So I'll go back in with this little highlighter to kind of see if it shows up a little bit. I mean, a little bit maybe. I don't know. I think you probably know whether you would enjoy a product like that. I think there are other brands that have done similar things, and that one doesn't have any pigment or shimmer or anything else that's going to catch the light. I didn't think I would get a lot of use out of it, so I was glad to just have it in a sample size, but you may feel differently. Okay, so let's talk about some eyeshadows. So I'm going to prime my lids. I feel like the steps of like priming my lids and applying corrector definitely feels like I'm departing from that kind of easy breezy kind of idea, like no makeup California beach girl that Tower 28 is kind of leaning into, but I think sometimes it's just a matter of knowing what you like, and obviously I'm doing kind of a full face of Tower 28, but I also know what I like in terms of my makeup. So I'm just going to take some of that Kosas powder again on a Sigma E50, and I like to set my primer just to kind of help things blend. And if you really just wanted to kind of neutralize discoloration on your lids, you could really just kind of leave it there, I guess. But apparently Mrs. Bieber enjoys the MAC shadow in the shade Wedge. And I think she talked about just using it in her crease. So this is the MAC palette I've kind of created out of different singles that I've bought over the years. And I just use a wet erase marker to write the name of the shade on top. I could have just used like a cream shade or whatever to set the primer as well. But she talks about using the shade Wedge, and it's just like a kind of warm, neutral, medium brown, I guess. I'm gonna take this Sonia G Classic Crease and just kind of fluff that in the crease to give my lids some dimension. So it's definitely a type of shade I would use normally in the crease, especially on a kind of more everyday makeup look. I think she also used maybe the Pat McGrath Divine Rose palette at one point. I also like to take some of my crease shade. This is the Sonia G Flat Definer, and just run it along the lower lashes, again, just to add some dimension. And also, you know, to the extent there's any creasing underneath, I find that adding some shadow helps that. Again, this is where I'm departing a little bit. I think I want to take some of Brune, which is this darker brown, and this is a Sonia G Mini Booster, and just add a little bit more, and then just blend as needed. And because I have hooded eyes, I try to kind of put in this outer V crease shade above my crease so it doesn't disappear. All right, I think that's good enough. All right, so I was thinking about using one of the shimmery shades in this palette, but instead I think I'm going to use the Hourglass Scattered Light shadow in the shade Reflect. I think this is also a product. Not this shade specifically, I'm not sure exactly what shade, but I think she's also used these. So I do like a good bit of shine on the lids. And again, because I have hooded eyes and I kind of know the shimmer is going to end up there anyway, I don't get too excited about any of the shimmer getting there when I'm applying it. In fact, sometimes it's easier to go ahead and kind of perfect the shape. All right, so my inclination is always to try to build things up to make them very foiled, but I'm just going to, I guess, leave it there. All right, so let's go back to this eyeliner. So this is the brown shade, and normally how I like to do my eyeliner is I'll just take it and run it across. And then if I feel like I need to, I'll use a little angle brush. This one is the BK208, and just go over it. And then what I like to do to create a little bit of a wing is I'll just try to get some of the product on the brush. Just try to line it up, and so you can tell I am able to, I guess, do this technique. It's not quite as intense as when I do it with the Victoria Beckham eyeliner, but it's definitely there. And if you prefer a more subtle look, and when I did this before, it pretty much stayed all day, so I didn't have any issues with it running or anything like that. I just, for some reason, I feel like I constantly need to sharpen these pencils, maybe because I'm trying to use them in different ways. So although they are, I guess, less expensive than some other high-end pencils, I guess just take into account how you think you'll use them, and some fallout. So I think I went a little bit bigger than I normally do, but because it's not a super opaque pencil, I think I can get away with a little bit more of a larger wing. All right, so while I'm doing the mascara, I'm gonna throw a little bit of a different lip oil on. I guess this is the shade Coconut. Probably not ideal with this lip liner, and I think they do have like a wheel where it kind of has the ideal match for the different liners and the Shine On lip jellies. So if you did want to get kind of your perfect match. So let's talk about this mascara, shall we? I think most people are convinced that this is the kind of best thing since sliced bread now. So I have a little kind of sample size that I got from Tower 28, and I've had this for a while now. So I'm going to clean it off. I have a brand new tube that I haven't used that I also got as a sample when I ordered the new juice balms. But you know, it's always tricky with mascara. Like you don't want, usually you want a little bit of time with them before they're kind of at their peak. Let's see how this does. All right, so that's on the lower lashes. And I am going to curl my lashes because I always do, and apply the Tower 28. All right, so that's one coat of the Tower 28. And I'll just let that dry for a second and tell you a little bit about this mascara that has captured the internet's attention. So the full size of the Make Waves Lengthening and Volumizing Mascara is $20. This was a 2022 Allure Best of Beauty Award winner, so Tower 28 has been pretty successful in entering their products into that, I guess, competition, you would say. And I know this came out just as I think the 2022 Allure Best of Beauty Award winners were being released, and so I think people were kind of giving it the side eye, but from what I gather, brands can submit their products to Allure for consideration. So you know, they might have gotten basically an advanced PR copy. It says it's a safe for sensitive eyes vegan mascara that visibly volumizes, lengthens, and defines for the most amped up, natural looking lashes. It's long wearing and water resistant, and they say it has Aquaflex technology, which is conventionally used in hair care styling, which is interesting. This ingredient actively works to define curl using memory hold. It memorizes the wave of your lashes while leaving lashes touchably soft. Technology helps keep lashes humidity-proof, visibly lifted, and curled. And the breakthrough triple wave wand has 3 flexible suspended bands that visibly lengthen and define every single lash and build boldness. The clean, non-toxic formula is lightweight and endlessly buildable without getting crunchy or clumpy, and is easy to wash off, keeping irritation and breakage at bay. So I'll show you this one that, again, I've had since, gosh, I want to say it's October. So you can see there's some kind of clumps in there now. So like I said, it's probably time to swap it out, but I figured in terms of the volume, that was going to be the better indication of the mascara. So what I wanted to compare it to is my Holy Grail Lights Camera Splashes from Tarte. Usually I use the Clinique Bottom Lash on my lower lashes, so I'll go ahead and do that. This is a relatively new tube of the Clinique Bottom Lash. And I think this is a tubing formula with a very small brush. It's a little bit more subtle, I think, than the Tower 28, but the Tower 28 does a good job, I think, on the lower lashes. And I have worn the Tower 28 mascara for a full day before, and it wore well. I didn't have any issues with flaking, smudging, any of that. So I just kind of wanted to show you the effect. And this Tarte mascara is also probably due for replacement. So I wanted to kind of use both products at the same point in their lifespan. And this is the Lights Camera Splashes, so it's the waterproof version of the Lights Camera Lashes. But that's one coat of the Lights Camera Splashes, and that's, I think, one coat of the Tower 28 Make Waves. It's funny that they're both kind of aquatic themed, but I'll go ahead and try to build this up. So, and you can see I even got some on my eyelid there. I like a waterproof formula because I do have straighter lashes that tend to point down, and this waterproof mascara in particular helps keep them lifted, gives them a lot of volume, but it's not impossible to remove either. Like, I generally use a waterproof makeup remover, like the Biphase one from Sephora or the one from Lancome, and I just put it on a Shiseido cotton and gently let it sit and do its thing. So I don't find it impossible to remove at all. Okay, so that is both mascaras, and I don't know. I mean, let me know if you prefer the Tower 28 to the Tarte, but I still like the Tarte. So the Tower 28 is not my new favorite. So I feel like I'm on a one-woman quest to get people to try the Tarte. But anyway, now that my lips have had a chance to hydrate a bit. All right, the newest product from Tower 28 is their Juice Bombs. So I have one of the 4 shades, which is Drink, and this is kind of a bright berry shade. And again, I like that it doesn't have any fragrance or anything. I did try this on the night I got it, and I decided to get one of the more kind of colorful shades because I knew having those lip jellies, they were more sheer. But after getting this, I wouldn't mind getting one of the sheer shades. I think I might pick one up during the Sephora sale. So that is the color Drink. So I think I might actually prefer these to the lip jellies. Partly because, like I said, with some of those more pigmented, intense shades, I feel like this texture of formula is going to be a little bit more stationary than one of the lip jellies that might have a tendency to move around, and you're applying it from the pencil, right? So there's no like getting it out of the tube and gooping it on or anything. But these are only $16. They are the same price as the lip jellies. It says it's a buttery smooth vegan tinted lip balm boosted with healthy ingredients and bursting with juicy color. So yeah, I think it looks really great. Like, the shape of my lips could probably be improved a little bit by a lip liner. I would probably want a mirror with this shade. With one of the sheer shades, I might just go in straight from the tube. You know, I've not been a huge fan of lip pencils like these, and I think the reviews of these have been kind of like, oh, big deal, like we've seen these before. But again, I think it's a nice formula, and it feels nice on the lips. I do wish that they had changed the packaging a little bit. It's nice that there is a shade indicator, so I do appreciate that. But across all the different shades, like, they all have the same orange cap, but they have a different color tube like this. I think it would have looked a little bit sleeker if they had made this color the same across all of them and then changed the color of the end. I think that's typically what you see in a lot of different lip pencils like NARS or whatever, but I don't know. I just think the combination of the orange with some of these shades is a little kind of off-putting. And I guess the other negative I could see with this is that I think it could melt in your bag if you left it outside or something, but you know, I think that's true of any kind of solid lip product, so you just have to kind of plan accordingly. So that is the finished makeup look and kind of my overview of the Tower 28 products. I don't even know how many products I tried. Like the mascara, I would definitely recommend the Tarte over it. I like this lip pencil, and they're pretty affordable. I like this foundation product, so I'd recommend trying that out. The cream blushes are nice. I think I would recommend skipping on the Sculptino and the Bronzino. I think the pencils are, I don't know, they're a little bit more of a novelty for me. I don't think I will kind of routinely incorporate them into my routine. The skincare I'm kind of iffy on. I'm just not sure if, I think skincare in general is just hard to really know like what's doing what, you know, over time. So there's that. And yeah, the lip jellies are nice too, but I think it might just come down to shade. I think if you want to go for a more bold color, I would recommend these. And if you want kind of a more subtle, easy, you know, grab and go, slap it on type thing, I would recommend these. But they both feel really nice on the lips, really moisturizing. So anyway, I hope you guys found that helpful. Let me know if you've tried any of these products and what you think about them down below. And if you haven't already subscribed, I invite you to do so. And until next time, I hope you guys are all doing well and staying safe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.